Making video. Yeah, it's going on my evening dirt collecting. Modern Mystic made a video on the brain stuff, dreams and stuff, so I thought I'd make a video about that. So, not for everybody. Not really important stuff, just kind of interesting. You know, what causes what, how do we function, and stuff like that. Yeah, so I don't want to be nitpicking. You know, his theory is good enough. He adds a qualifier constantly. He's always like implying this. He has a problem with the you thing, and I agree. The you thing doesn't work in the sense of your brain is a person inside your brain, you know, running your brain. You know, your brain is you, collectively, and your brain is doing lots of things, and it's doing 99.9999999999999% of them without you noticing. I just did that 0.999999 thing. I didn't do that. I mean, the thing I call me, the you thing, the program that is conscious, didn't do that. One of the other pieces of my brain did that, and I take credit for what it does, but I am not really a participant in any way. I mean, the conscious me. Actually, the conscious me, as I have argued, I think if you really look at it, doesn't do a damn thing. It just watches your brain make the thing called you. Now, I haven't heard a good argument against that truth, but just a lot of implied disagreements. But I think that's all it's doing. It's just watching. It's watching you, the thing, the brain, put together crap in response to the crap it noticed. I didn't notice it. It noticed it. You know, pieces of it noticed it. They recognized something and paid attention to it, associated it with a memory, blah, 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 that kind of thing. But I didn't do a damn thing. I mean, you know, my brain did it. It's like my feet walk. I don't instruct them on how to do that anymore because, yeah, they do it. But when I had a stroke and my foot couldn't do that anymore, it was a bitch figuring out how to do it again. You know, re-establishing the orientation. And so that's sort of what the Mystics video was about, was orientation. Yes, we get oriented to life. We have to go to like orientation school and have an orientor in the environment teach us what gravity is and all this other shit. And that's where I have a subtle disagreement with the Mystic, especially in the dream connection. But even in his use of the ocular or whatever, sounds visual when it's audio. But anyway, they use those implants. And at first, they just create noise. And he implied that the noise is not rich, that it's a crude facsimile, that it's not doing anything detailed, and that your brain is making up the detail. And I don't think that's happening at all. I think there is a rich signal. Otherwise, your brain would not be able to adapt to it, because it wouldn't be able to distinguish of from other. You know, it wouldn't be able to make enough of a distinction between different words and sounds and the speeds of them and all that stuff. So I think the signal is really quite rich. But the problem is the brain hasn't pixelated it yet. So I'll use as my metaphorical example that, you know, most mammals, well, many mammals, no, not many actually, are born kind of blind. You know, cats anyway, dogs. And it takes a little while for the brain to wire the screen, so to speak. And that's how I would metaphor it. That the screen in your brain hasn't been wired yet to define what pixel belongs to what piece of string in your brain. And so it takes a little while for it to connect the dots, linear thing. So at first, that tree would be in pieces. One piece would be over there, and a piece over there, and a piece over there, and a piece over there. And your brain figures out what is, by an algorithm, by applying some kind of Google-esque algorithm, it recognizes the reality. You know, that reality is this kind of thing: leaves on the ground, green stuff, sky. It recognizes those patterns, sees them, and then patterns the connections to fit the reality. And it also creates things like your understanding of gravity and all that kind of stuff at the same time. Up and down, all that stuff is also wired. This is I collect dirt. See, I'm one of the people living on the top, you see. And here down at the bottom land, they have stolen all my topsoil. So I am reclaiming it after the worms have pooed it. So they call these castings, I guess. Worm poo is called a casting. Yeah, whatever. So, yeah, it's funny that we need ocular implants to be able to play silly games with words. Anyway, and so, they're not rebraining yet. Anyway, where was I? Sorry, I'll let you watch some of the exciting scraping of the dirt. It really is quite nice once you add a little humus to it. It makes an adequate soil for the gardening and such. And really I do it just because it's good exercise, carrying it. So you'll have to entertain yourself for a moment. Yeah, so it gets wired to the screen, so to speak, and that's all it really is. And it's like your coordination works the same way. Learning how to walk and all that kind of stuff is pretty much just algorithmic. What works over time, and what works over time is programmed into the mechanism, into reflexes that work. And pretty much your brain is reflexively, it learns how to see, and so it has lots of reflexes that fill in lots of little bits, do the three-dimensionally thing for you, make it appear, make your world feel three-dimensional, even though you're seeing it in two dimensions, and well, feel in the sense of see. Yeah. On to stage 2. The run. Go this way. So my disagreement is that there's plenty of information in those implants, and it just takes time for the algorithm to find the words. Then the second argument is on the dream thing. He's arguing that the dream thing is randomized by, you close your eyes and there's some sort of random spotty stuff sometimes. Well, there really isn't that much. It's ghosty and has to do with how hard you press on your eyes, how hard you close them, how dark it is, what the last thing you saw was, and how embedded it still is on the screen, the retina. So it's more complicated, I think, than that being a stimulus for the story of your dreams. And dreams, I think, really do have a huge psychological component. Freudian. Your dreams really are connected to your insecurities. They really are practice for your life. I think it's just undeniable. So anyway, people, and I gotta go running, so I'll be back. I'm back. Yeah, it's really quite lovely here. Bit out of breath, sorry. Just show you the lovely. Yeah, really is. I have to go into that field this year. So they used to dump mud and wood chips. Now it's all overgrown. Probably all kinds of interesting beasties living in there, tigers and such. So, put it on the to-do list. Ooh. Getting too old for this shit, as they say. So, I guess I can talk, so I'll keep going. Alright, so we're at Freud. So, I think there's, at least for me, personally, I can clearly see how my brain is getting practiced by my dreams. My dreams are really tied to my fears, my insecurities, really tied to the desire mechanism, you know, what I want. It shows me it, you know, doesn't let me get it too often, especially the last few years. You know, it's, you get that one dream a year where, you know, you get the triplets, you know, and Binky, Bonky, and Wonky, and you know, life is good. But the rest of them, it's all something goes wrong. Somebody's head falls off, some kind of bullshit. Get killed a lot in my dreams. Run over by something, trapped in something, building falls on me, all that kind of shit. So lots of practice for real life. So this is something I've said many times. I know you people have heard it, that dreams are practice. And I've never heard a good rational argument opposing that as a pretty solid description of reality. And your brain's practicing cheap. Okay, your body's doing this whole rest thing. It's doing this whole, you know, let's have some downtime, work on the systems. So it doesn't want to, it's not eating, you know, it doesn't want to waste a bunch of energy on fantasy. So it runs it, you know, on the iPod battery, you know, not a low battery use. And so that's why I think it has such poor definition, is that it's just it's the cheap Android. You know, it's got crappy resolution. You know, but it's good enough. You know, and it's certainly good enough for the purpose, which, like I said, I think is evolutionarily, the purpose is, might as well practice life while you're out of the game for a while. You know, yeah. You know, learn how to do it better by practicing. Simple. So I don't think it's a random thing. I think certainly if the brain needs random, it can get random anywhere. It doesn't need the spots left over on your retina to find randomish, you know, pure random anyway. But yeah, it doesn't have to look very hard to find something chaotic to pull out of nowhere. Amazing how few of those kind of mistakes the brain does make, right? You know, composes all these sentences, does all this work, and every now and then, though, boing, yeah, it boners on a word like chaotic. You got chaotic. It's just kind of funny, because it really does an incredible job when you think about what it's doing when you're reading, or writing, or talking, how fast it puts all these shit together. It's making this video now, you know, and I'm watching it. I kind of know the theme, but I really don't know how insightful I'm going to be, or how eloquent it'll find some great phrase. And you know, I'll be kind of, if you're impressed, I'll be impressed also. Wow, my brain farted that. Where did it pull that from? Certainly I have you get used to your brain having a certain functionality, so you say, okay, I can depend on it to do okay. And after 5,000 videos, who the fuck knows, yeah, I sort of can know what I'm going to do in a video, mostly. Yeah, that one comes up. That comes up. So I have to retrain that one. So it's so tedious. The retraining is very tedious, because you have to go down to the lower level, you know, the operating system, and the programming language, which is really sloppy, and it's hard to reprogram the hard, you know, the OS, you know. But that's what it takes sometimes, when you see a flaw and you got to fix it. But something you can't get to. A lot of my neuroses, even though I've tried to find it in my brain and do something about it, I can't get a grip on it. You know, I still have the vertigo thing. Not as bad, but I still have it, so I'll practice, you know, just pushing it. And, you know, to see if I can try to find it in my brain and find the off switch. You know, but you just can't do it. You know, I've had this anxiety disorder for 40 plus years now. Started when I was about 12, I guess, 13, you know, where it was noticeable. And yeah, after 40 years of working on it, I have gained no ground. I've only learned to live with it, to accommodate it, to completely, yeah, it owns me. I'm its bitch. And you know, my brain says to me, one of the programs says, "Gee, Gary, that just doesn't, you know, seems, Gary, it seems like you should be the master of these kinds of things. You know, you be the man, you know." And but no. So anyway, so I think that's just an argument in defense of the fact that once you learn how to walk, you know, unless something takes it away from you, you're not going to learn how to do it a new way. Your brain is just going to want to keep walking the way you learned how to walk. Something like that. Might be the whole thing where it's pretty hard for people to learn a new language. Once they get past a certain age, they'll, you know, they can learn some of the words, but they'll just never quite be as fluent and as natural speaking the language as they would if they learned it in their youth, so to speak. Oh, my favorite tree. The big wood. Yeah, yeah, like it between my legs. Inspires dreams and such. So anyway, so yeah, that's the. My critique isn't major with what the mystic was saying. Just a couple of these minor points. Clearly, the brain has different organs in it, do different things, but I don't think it's. I don't think it's what people think it is. I think it's mostly hard drive. It's just mostly storage, storing memories of words, memories of colors, and it's just all the cross references. You know, this sand is brown, goes into the brown category, then it goes into the dirt category because it's dirty sand. You know, it goes into dry category. It's just all these categories that things are placed in. Your brain is just a bunch of pigeonholing, and you know, the 20 or 30 little connections to 20 or 30, you know, other concepts, and everything's just conceptually connected. And I think the rudimentary function is that simple. And then, you know, concepts that we deal with a lot obviously have lots of neurons associated with them, and each one of those neurons can have different categorical connections. And then they have a, you know, they do the algorithm thing. They do the math to figure out who you are today. Because every day you'll be a little bit of a drier or wetter person, a little bit greener or browner. Your tendencies, the stuff on the surface of your brain, so to speak, the stuff actively, you know, it's like in the memory, you know, on the whatever you call it, the dim memory, well, anyway, from the hard drive, you know, and that's sort of the you of the day is what's on the faster memory, and but it can be switched to the hard drive anytime. We can pull up a reference to the hard drive and get deeper, more information. But you know, all your brain's doing when you're sleeping is it's just exercising the brain, and in this cartoonish manner, because it doesn't really care about reality, because it's a dream. It just wants your reactions to be measured in some proportion to reality. But practice is practice. Doesn't matter that it's a virtual cartoon world. Yeah. I think it makes it even better for the purpose of the practice. If your brain tried to duplicate reality, you might get bored, or you'd wake up. Something like that, maybe. Who knows? It would just be more complicated, because then it has to get too many details right. If your brain tries to synthesize reality in your dreams, it has to get all this detail right. And it just can't do that without wasting a bunch of energy. So it doesn't bother. So, I think that's enough. I think clean up this hair area. Yeah. Really, I've made progress this year, but still a lot to do here. Every day, little projects to get done. Oof. But lovely here. Just flowers are starting to flower pretty good. And these are nice little. I love these colors here. These are quite interesting. And for plain purple, these are really interesting ones. I like those. I mean, it goes faded to the white in the center. Very nice. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. My arm's getting tired. Anyway, so I think that's enough for the video. I don't think there was anything else egregious. Oh, yeah, but it's almost there. Zinnias pretty soon. That'll help. Yeah, really quite nice. Birds been eating all my blueberries, though. No real way to stop them. You put netting on and they get caught in the net. And, yeah, there's no win. Anyway, enough. We can look around one more time. Really quite nice. So, yeah, really quite nice. Until the next time and such.